I read a report this week about another study suggesting a link between cell phone use and an increased risk of cancerous growths. The study was an American study, and what makes it especially convincing, or at least sort of tips the scale towards the side of believing that there may be some kind of a risk, is that what I found was an increase in the growths on the dominant side, that is, the side that the user usually used their cell phone, in the ear canal and in the salivary glands. A little bit frightening. I know that there have been other studies, especially in Europe, regarding children, since some of the cell phone companies have been marketing to a younger and younger demographic. My question is, why would you put yourself at risk when you don't have to? The politicians and the sort of scientists, the executive scientists of the world, all scrambled like crazy to impose all kinds of environmental laws at the mere suggestion that global warming might have an anthropogenic cause, having been caused by man. I mean, all it took for them is to see a few graphs behind Al Gore, and they were off and running. Yet study after study says that putting something that radiates microwaves up against your head, probably not a good idea, and yet nothing is done. There is no impetus to do anything about it, probably because the will is not there. It was easy for people to get behind an environmental concern and start to do something because it was seen as the thing to do. It became cool very, very quickly, in fact. I mean, it was sold well. They sold it really well. The thing with cell phones is that what they've sold with the cell is the coolness. The part of your life is made better by using the cell phone. It's so ingrained in people's culture that they won't be able to give it up. They won't be willing to give it up. They'll find excuse after excuse not to give it up. There were fewer and fewer excuses for people to avoid recycling or changing a light bulb here and there. I mean, there's a report that I saw actually on YouTube, an economist by the name of Lomberg, talking about doing things at a smaller scale, ways to solve world problems, saying that it's not better to spend lots of money and effort on projects that have small results further down the road. It's better to spend little money on projects that have a quick result. His suggestion was that it's better to deal with AIDS education and AIDS medical treatment immediately, solving a large problem quickly with less money, than spending lots and lots of money to reduce global carbon emissions by a small percentage over a century. It's an interesting argument, but this argument sort of applies here when, to solve the cell phone problem, which may or may not exist, all we have to do is curtail cell phone use. And I mean, the thing is, too, that a lot of these cell phone conversations are not really very necessary. And I know that you've heard all these conversations, many of them, and these distracted driver problems that we have revolve around conversations that are often just like the one that I heard on the bus the other day, where a woman spent about 20 minutes on the bus having a conversation that went along the lines of, well, then what did he say? Well, what did she say? But what did he say? Oh, what did he say? And, I mean, you're not even having a conversation. You're listening to somebody else describe another conversation. This was not something that you needed to do on the cell phone immediately. Certainly could have waited until you met that person in real life at their home, but, I mean, it probably didn't even have to happen then. Think of how many phone conversations you've had that were not entirely necessary. I don't know how we got by back in the days when there were no phones, no cell phones, and you had to actually pick up a phone on a cord and dial. We certainly didn't spend our lives attached to every one of our acquaintances at all times. Now, the thing for me is that possibly we could change the technology of the cell phone, make the cell phones better, and emit less radiation, thereby making them safer. This is not acceptable to me, because my solution is stop using the cell phones, and you solve two problems. One, not good. One, no more cancer, no more risk of cancer from the cell phones. Two, I don't have to listen to you on the transit anymore. And that would be much better for me, in fact. So I just wanted to make this little note and get it out there. I'm trying to cut these down and keep them more interesting. And I'll try to talk to you next time about something that's even more interesting. Cheers.